Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Raw Misfit Show. I am your host, Matt from MyRawIntuition.com. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. As you guys know, Jeanette will not be joining us today. She is actually on her way to New York right now to spread the message of the raw vegan lifestyle. And so she's going to be helping to run the Woodstock Fruit Festival going on right now. So, that's an event that I really recommend people check out if you haven't yet. Really great place to meet other like-minded people and, just get introduced to this lifestyle and meet people that are doing the same thing. So that's what she's doing. So today we have actually a very special guest. This is going to be a great show, you guys. We have Raw Natty Nate going to be joining us, taking Jeanette's place this week, stepping in, and we're going to be talking about how the raw vegan diet affects men, right? So how, in our experience, what the effects of this diet have provided. There's a lot of, speculation out there. There's a lot of, things being said about how fruits and vegetables affect men. And if it, makes them soy boys or, whatever the stereotype is out there for vegan men. Nate and I are going to discuss that today, and we're going to dispel some of those myths, and we're going to share our experience of really how this lifestyle has completely transformed our lives, and really from a men's point of view, kind of some of those different aspects that have changed for us. So I'm going to bring Nate on here. Nate on here. I see he has requested, so let's get him in here. All right. So there he is. What's up, Nate?
What's up, brother?
Hey. All right, man. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for stepping in and, being a presence for this lifestyle and always sharing the good vibes.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on. And let's all wish Jeanette safe travels on her way up there to upstate New York. And wish we were going ourselves, but we're going to be missing this year, darn it.
Right. Is this the first year that you guys have missed?
No, we missed last year, 2021, and of course 2020 was shut down, right? We did miss last year. We're going to miss this year. Our plan is to get back there this next year. That's the plan. It's always a really fun event for those who know, and then for those who don't know, Woodstock Fruit Festival, just a great event. You don't have to be vegan. You don't have to be a raw foodie or a fruitarian to go to this event. It is absolutely just beautiful in so many ways, so many things happening there. And yeah, definitely check it out for the viewers who are tuning into this. And it's not too late because it's not happening until, well, when is it? It's, I think it starts maybe this next week, not this week coming up, but the week after.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
So yeah, it's not too late to get over there and check it out. I think you can, I don't know if you can go for just a day. I don't know if they do that, you have to go for the full week, but it's a great experience and lots of amazing talks and just all kinds of amazing stuff happening there. So yeah, I really wish we were going. We're kind of bummed we're not going to be there this year.
Yeah. And you and Lissa actually got married there, correct?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I proposed to her at the closing ceremonies in 2018. And then, we had to go through immigration and all that stuff because she immigrated from Canada to come to the States, to be with me here. And we're like, hey, what better place than Woodstock Fruit Festival to get married? Plus, of course, a wedding is pretty intense. There's a lot to plan and stuff. So it was just the most magical and easygoing wedding. It was a great experience. So 2019, we got married there 2019. And then of course, the following year, the turn of events, so we couldn't come back. But I know we're like, well, maybe we should wait till 2024. It'll be our 5-year anniversary.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I actually haven't made it out there once yet. You know, that's something that has always been on my bucket list. And, you know,
Yeah.
maybe next year, if you guys
Yeah.
go out there next year, maybe we'll all join you out there.
I love it, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had kind of thought about maybe, like renting a motorhome or something. That way we could bring our cats with us and,
Nice.
maybe take off and, try to leave for, maybe make it like a 3-week trip or something. Because the event is about 8 days long, I believe, or 7 days, a full week. But yeah, that'd be way cool, man. Come swing by, pick you up, and,
Yeah.
and whisk you away to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, man.
Oh, man, that'd be a dream. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
man. Well, let's start talking about kind of I figured I've always respected your presence and your vibe that you put out, and
Likewise.
very you know wholesome and just like a solid male presence in this community. And so I
Thank you.
thought this would be a great topic for us to discuss because, you always hear about, you know, low testosterone and all these other things that like the carnivore crowd and other
Right.
meat-based crowds like to throw at the vegan community. So I just figured we'd just talk about, a few ways that this lifestyle has really impacted our lives, kind of in that aspect of being men and things like that.
It's a great topic, man. It's so true. Like you're saying, yeah, it's a good topic. It's one worth talking about. Yeah, definitely. So I'm in. This is going to be a good one, bro.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate those kind words. And I likewise, I feel that you too, Matt, have such a great demeanor, delivery, and presence in this, community and what you offer. So this is great, man. Anytime I get to connect with you, it's always a pleasure, man. So thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so basically kind of how we usually do this is usually Jeanette and I will come up with like 4 or 5 points that we'll talk about and just kind of throw back at each other. And I don't know if you had a chance to, come up with a list or anything, but I've got a few things that I can, put out and then we can just discuss it. Did you write anything down or did you?
Perfect. I've got a couple. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we can just alternate, and then do you want to start?
Why don't you lead this one off, man?
Okay. All right, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the first point that I wrote down was that getting into this lifestyle and really flooding our body with fruits and vegetables and the antioxidants and all the vitamins and minerals, it really connects us with the primal protector within us. It's not just a physical change that you go through. It's actually, it's a spiritual, it's a mental and emotional change that living this lifestyle can, impart on you, especially compared to a standard American diet and lifestyle, right? So
100%.
you become so much more, connected with those around you, your environment, with yourself, and eating this way, it's really, I see it as taking a stand for others and for the vulnerable. We're taking a stand against animal agriculture, essentially, and the mistreatment of other beings, animals and even humans and just other life forms on the planet. And so that's really how I see, this lifestyle and how it affects, especially the men, in taking that role as a protector of others and really also of ourselves, right? So we're taking in a food that benefits our long-term health, and that's going to really, protect ourselves in the long term, but also give us a chance to continue to be protectors into the future, right?
So true.
Yeah. So that's my first, kind of bullet point on one of the benefits that we receive as men from eating this way.
Yeah, so true, man. I mean, I resonate with everything you say there, and it is tricky being a man and you know, I mean, I would imagine, say, for millennia, in a way of, you know, kind of like who we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to be able to hold ourselves, what kind of feelings and emotions that we are comfortable releasing with, you know, not only ourselves, you know, but friends and loved ones, relatives, our partners, and that kind of thing. And yeah, going, like, it's interesting because why would someone want to eat just fruits and vegetables, right? Like, and not have any other, like, say, you know, cooked foods or heat processed foods, right? Or especially, you know, animal products. And I feel that it's interesting because it's really tricky in a way to let yourself go into that state where you are going to allow information in and study the nutrition and study what's happening to the animals and how that's affecting us as humans on our planet, our ecosystem. And then, of course, making the change to adopting this way of life of eating predominantly fresh, whole, ripe fruits and vegetables. It makes, when you have the lenses on though, right? When you have that perspective, when you've opened your heart and you've taken in this information, it makes perfect sense. And, but still, even then, I feel like it can be really tricky, especially for men, to adopt this way of thinking and change their life, you know, for the better, definitely. But, you know, keep the information coming in, keep studying. That way they can, you know, we can inspire other men. It's tricky. It's definitely tricky, man. I feel that it's way easier. This world is set up in a way where it's way easier just to stay gluttonous and stay drunk and, you know, meat and potatoes, man, barbecued up and just having our drinks. It's easier that way. But like you said, when you do start to ingest these sorts of, you know, these things, these raw plant foods, like for me personally, I went through a lot of different emotions, and I started to really look at my life in a different way. Like, who do I want to surround myself with? Why do I keep these individuals in my life? I love them. I love all of my homies that I grew up with, right? But as well as, say, even my partner, 25 years at the time, it was like I was definitely, I wasn't comfortable with what I was feeling and the emotions that were coming up. So like you touched upon, you know, these different emotions start to come up. You start to see things in a different way, and that's tricky. I feel like it's hard to change, and it's hard to switch it up and to let go of maybe what's not serving you, or evolving in a way that is more beneficial for ourselves, you know, because if we're living, it's, you know, I'm the main character of my movie, you're the main character of your movie, you know, and we got all these supporting actors and actresses, or actors, I guess they're called nowadays, right? It's interesting though, like how easy it is to stay doing what everybody else is doing and not jumping out and researching nutrition. When you research nutrition, let alone the animal agriculture, the vegan side of things, because that's another thing too, is like veganism has nothing to do with diet.
Right.
But diet plays a huge role in veganism. But when you look into the diet aspect, it just makes sense. It's the way that, in a way, it's the way that we were designed to be eating. And, you know, we went into survival state. We needed to, you know, kill the animals to say sustain, or maybe we're eating some more dormant foods because we couldn't get stuff growing in the winter time. We're trying to survive. So it's an interesting one. Like, definitely, I feel I don't know if there's as many men, in a way. There's more coming because of, you know, these kinds of conversations. There's more coming over to eating the way Mother Nature designed, but it is hard. It's tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And like you said, the emotional part of it, where you start, you know, it is uncomfortable, and we're, like you said, we're taught as men, you know, growing up that, you know, you gotta be tough and you gotta be strong. And you do that by eating meat, you know, having a steak, gonna put some hair on your head.
Right.
And, you know, things like that. So yeah, the overcoming some of those early programs that we've been given from culture and society. It's definitely uncomfortable to start working through some of that stuff and really tapping into, the childlike, just emotion and disposition towards animals and everything else.
The childlike, that is such a huge thing. Because I remember I went to Oregon. We lived in the Mojave Desert. We go to Oregon, and I had my aunt and uncle lived on the river. And so went fishing down there with my uncle and my grandpa and my dad, and I caught a fish, my very first fish. We put it in the bucket. I was sad because taking the hook out, he was kind of bleeding, right? So put him in the bucket, and I didn't even want to fish anymore. I put my pole down, and I was just like trying to like check the fish out. I was just amazed to see a fish like from the wild that close in this bucket. Yeah. And then it comes time, it's the day's over, it's in the afternoon or whatever. My grandpa's like, all right, let's go clean the fish. And I'm like, clean him? Like, he's already in a bucket of water. Like, what are we going to do? I'm thinking as a 7-year-old boy. Yeah. And then watching him gut the fish, I lost it, man. And I would have been vegan right then and there if I had more compassionate, understanding individuals around me telling me like, oh, these emotions you're feeling, this is, and, they weren't educated in the way that, say, we're educated, and not to say that they don't have amazing, gifts to, endow on us back then, but right. I just lost it, man. I lost it. So it's interesting, that childlike, but I had the talk. The rest of the evening was, me in the wood shop with my uncle and my dad and my grandpa, and, giving the talk, basically kind of like shutting me down, shutting the switch off. Don't feel. This is what men do. You got to, provide for your own, but I mean, it was a little tiny trout, man. It's not going to feed us all, right? But yeah, to be in tune with that, I feel like most children, it's seeing something be slaughtered in front of you is so traumatic, and it's not so. I mean, inherently, aside from wanting to make our relatives proud, or our friends, be, if you're really young, you're trying to make them proud. If you don't have that, the majority of people's reaction, I would imagine, children especially, are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. What are we doing? I was so mad that I killed that fish, man. But that whole talk, it was like, okay, I had to shut the receptors down. I had to shut them down. It's like, I'm a fisherman. I'm going to be a hunter. This is what I have to do. Right? But we're not living in that kind of an environment where we have to do that. And then, of course, when we research, and you do the research and you are open, not everything is everything is a conspiracy in a way, right? But it's interesting when we start to research, like, about our waters, what's in these fish, why are we eating the fish? What do we think we're going to gain from eating a fish? And how can we very possibly get those nutrients we're looking for from the plant kingdom, which is where they got it from? It starts to make no sense to go that way, because we're not living in this time where we have to survive by hunting and fishing. Now, of course, there's indigenous cultures out there that it's not possible for them to sustain life without, but the westernized, domesticated worlds, we have access to anything and everything that we want year round. We can make the choice. Yep. But yeah, we got to get in tune with that inner child again. Right.
Yeah, man. I have the exact same type of experience with fishing. I was a huge fisherman growing up. I could be out all day, every day fishing, but I too did not like the part where I would, like, sometimes, the fish would swallow the hook, and it was, there was really no way to even save it, because, it was so deep in there. And those types of things, it got to the point where I just liked having my, sitting out there with the fish or the pole in the water. I remember hoping that a fish would not bite my line, because I didn't want to harm the fish. I enjoyed, the act of reeling them in, because it was, it was exciting. But then once you understand that can lead to, and does, always, I don't think anybody, if they really thought about it, having a hook pull you out of your environment from your mouth could, even if you don't or you don't see the fish with like blood or anything, that has to be emotionally traumatizing,
Horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just like not wanting to harm the fish. So it was like this weird dichotomy or,
Yeah.
or paradox where I was just like, I love fishing, but I don't want to hurt the fish. And so
Right.
eventually I just had to come to terms with, this is not something that I want to, support or,
Right.
be part of.
And of course, there's those aspects that we really loved, like going out there before the sun rose. I lived in Oregon on the Rogue River, and, seeing those ice crystals form on your line, the way the sun would hit those and looked like beads of oil, right? Like the fog off of the river in the morning when the sun starts to come up, the dew is like blinging. There's that golden hour in the morning. You're down there with some other buddies, you're drinking maybe a little coffee or something. You've got your boots on, you're standing in the water. There's so much that is really beautiful about the act of fishing. And then of course you're reading the water, where they are going to be resting through the rapids, or there's a little waterfall. You're like, cool, they're going to be resting right there. So I feel that it's a really good skill to have in a lot of ways, 100%.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, it's like, do we really need to do that though? I mean, of course, like you're saying, the adrenaline rush of reeling them in, it's a full adrenaline rush. You're bending your line down this way, right? But they don't want to come out, right? That's why it's this fight. But can we enjoy the river in a way that in the morning, aspects of just the day, the dawn, in a way that doesn't necessarily involve death?
Right.
Like, because there was so many other aspects that I loved about being out there. But exactly. When you have a different pair of lenses on, you're like, wow, this is actually really disgusting. And then when you research into, we don't have the technology to know what's in the fish, what's in the muscle tissue of the fish, and we would I would only really fish for salmon. Well, rainbow trout. I would rarely bring my fishing pole on the raft or something if we would go fishing. But it's interesting because those fish are so smart. I mean, they go out to the ocean and they know exactly where they respond. They find the very river and go up that river into the very creek or stream that they respond. Wow. Like, wow, that's magical when you think about it. Yeah. And of course, we weren't allowed to catch any native fish. They had to be hatchery fish. And then, of course, when you get into that concept, it's like, just kind of unnecessary. Right? Yeah. Especially when you start to research nutrition, you're like, I don't even really need this fish. Like, this isn't what I need to be a vital human being. I don't have to have fish flesh to be healthy.
Right.
But it's the camaraderie. You're down there with your boys. Yeah. I'd bring my sons down there. I'd be down there with some of my best friends. And that's the part that's really hard to let go of. That's the part as a man. Those are some of the things that we love to do. And that's hard to let go of that and to sort of evolve from that mindset of, I got to get down there and get my, we paid for our tag, our fishing license. We got to get our, it's interesting, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. And that really, that was my second bullet point was, it really increases our emotional intelligence. Where we can start to, connect and have compassion for, others and see it from their point of view rather than just, it gives me that great adrenaline rush or, I paid for my tag or, it's just what we do. It's how we bond as men. We can certainly find other ways to bond, even like you said, just being out there. There's so many factors that play into that whole experience of, of bonding with your boys or with whoever it is, even just
nature.
Yourself. Yeah. Nature.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So yeah, that's the other part that I think a lot of men in our society that eat a standard way of eating, they really lack that real emotional intelligence that allows them to, you know, have compassion for people that are less vulnerable, or for animals, or, you know, people that are just different from them. It's a mindset that keeps us separate and, you know, at odds with other people.
Yeah.
Whereas this lifestyle, it really allows us to, you know, again, have that compassion and that understanding for, you know, all other people and animals, and it just allows us to be a better, you know, community in my mind, and allows us to lead better for children and for you know, the people that are looking up to us. So
100%. Yeah, and it's something that is it's we're influenced by our peers and by our family, by our grandfathers and fathers, and we want to make them proud, right? So it's something that it's changing, right? Because like I don't have my kids are grown. They're both vegan ethically. And they're 19 and 21, right? So I imagine their kids are going to be raised differently than I was raised because of the mindset that they have, right? How they've changed. And of course it's going to trickle, but there's a lot of, you know, I mean, there's a lot of meathead kind of mentality out there, and not to say that individuals who fish or hunt are bad people, you know, I mean, it's, but yeah, being in touch with that emotional aspect and understanding that it's just unnecessary. It's what I feel that was really empowering was smoking the salmon, you know, or having the cuts of, you know, elk or, you know, venison, knowing that I got it and having it stocked in the fridge, right, for survival purposes or nourishing myself and nourishing my kids, my wife. But then you start to research nutrition, and it's like, we can actually still have these things sort of preserved, different plants. You know, you can dry them, you can freeze dry them, you can, you know, freeze them, and you still have basically packages of food storage that's going to nourish you even better than flesh. So it's interesting, but yeah, definitely it's you know, that, man, it's a huge community and world, the hunting and gaming and fishing world. It's massive, multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Right.
And of course it's perpetuated. A lot of I've got friends even still, they're like, Nate, I peek in, you know, I love what you're doing, but I still got to eat my venison, man. I'm like, yo, bro, I was just saying hi. Like, why do we always have to talk about, you know, why you have to eat your venison? I understand you're never going to stop hunting. Okay, I got you, you know, but yeah, getting in touch with that emotional aspect is kind of tricky because we're kind of like, in a lot of ways, in the past, I feel more so than now. Now it's definitely switching up in a lot of ways, but you know, it's kind of, we're taught to like tune out that aspect, and it's more like the warrior, right? Providing for your family, making sure that you know how to go and feed yourself. But look at how many plants there are in the wild. We have lost that knowledge. Mushroom hunting is probably the closest thing I feel that we have to going out in the wild as men and searching for something that we can come back and, like, you know, nourish ourselves with. And it's still fun. We want to, as men, as dudes, as boys, we want to play in the woods. We want to be in nature. And we have a lot of remembering to do, because we have to study, we have to research, you know, what are the wild plants that we could gather. You know, of course it's not as, you know, we think, you know, back in the day they have depicted, you know, the pictographs or the petroglyphs on the rock of the hunt, right? And it's not necessarily because maybe the cultivating or the gathering of plants wasn't as exciting as the hunt that was going to sustain the entire tribe through the winter. Right. So they, you know, put the petroglyphs there. But when we tap into these different cartoons and stuff, say like Brother Bear, right? I don't know if you've seen Brother Bear. Have you ever seen that cartoon?
No, I've never seen that one.
Bro, rent it.
Okay.
It's so good, man. It's stuff like that you're like, wow, You know, like it makes perfect sense if we could see it from the animal's perspective.
Yeah.
We're the scary ones. We're the ones that we have to like, right? It's wild, but yeah, we can switch it up, man. But studying nutrition, having talks like this, connecting. I mean, really the thing comes down to there's so many things gathering, trying to gather our attention, trying to get these messages out. Some will never hear it. Some will maybe come across it, but not want to hear it. But there are a lot of individuals who are peeking into like, hey man, I want to be healthy. Like I love mountain biking. I want to mountain bike when I'm in my 60s and 70s. Maybe I should switch up what I'm eating because I feel like poo and I'm watching relatives on medications and I have, high cholesterol, or I'm impotent. What do I do? I need better blood flow. So then that gets the person to dig into nutrition for their own health reasons, because I feel like in a lot of ways, for men especially, it might be more health reasons that inspire them to look into this as opposed to the ethics of feeling what another. It's funny, right? Like it's kind of messed up because it's like our own ego in a way. We're like, oh, I'm sick. Okay, what do I do? I need to do something different.
Yep. Yeah, which is funny though, because I think that's fine, just because once you start to incorporate more fruits and vegetables and less of the flesh, I think, for whatever reason you got into it for whether it's just your own selfish health reasons or whatnot, just the act of getting more plants in, I believe they carry that love energy in them, and you take out some of that fear-based, aggressive energy from the animal flesh, and that changes you so that even if you didn't get into it for, altruistic reasons, it starts to bring that vibe into you.
Yeah.
You start to feel that for
sure.
You never really thought about before.
Right. That's so true, man. Yeah. Everything is energy, right? Everything is energy.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Cynthia? Jeanette is at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, so she is not here today, but we've got Raw Natty Nate here, and we're just discussing, how the raw vegan plant-based lifestyle is affecting men and ourselves in particular. So this has been a great discussion so far. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us and putting your questions down here. I am definitely not as good as Jeanette at getting to these questions and keeping everything organized. I'm just kind of flying by.
I can't even see the questions. Like it's only one line, then they pass or whatever. So I know it's got to be kind of tricky.
Yep, it is for sure.
Jeanette, hopefully we can get to people's questions.
What's that?
I said, yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get to, some people's questions.
Yeah, for sure. We try to do half the show just these talking points, and then half the show is a Q&A. So yeah, we can definitely get to the Q&A here shortly. I've just got a couple more things that I wanted to throw at you and get your thoughts. So I mean, one of just the most obvious ones to me has been, it really changes us from having body odor to body scent is what I like to call it. Body scent. It's not really a body odor anymore.
Right. It's pheromones, right? Yeah, we got exactly. Our pheromones. Yes, definitely. Oh my gosh, that is so true, man.
Yeah.
Everything changes. I mean, if we were to really look at it, the way that I like to see it personally is this is the way that we were intended to eat. Mother Nature. Like it's designed into the programming of creation to eat the plants. I mean, and it says in every form of religion too, right? Like, give you all the fruit bearing seed, trees with seeds and nuts, and however the saying goes, it's said a couple different ways, right? But
yeah,
we don't need to eat other living creatures to stay thriving. And actually, if we really look out there and see what's happening in the medical field, it's not serving us to eat, especially the levels that we're eating. And then of course, what we're eating, like for sure, venison, deer is going to be better than beef that's grown, in a CAFO, right? One of these, but when we understand what these plants can do for us, when we study just a little bit, you study into nutrition, and that's something that we should all be studying no matter what through our life, is studying nutrition, how to feed ourselves so where we can have this vital life. It's incredible how many things change. Like you're saying, the odor, you don't stink the same. I don't have the same tartar buildup on my teeth.
Me neither.
You know, and I think that might be from cutting out the fluids of animal products, right? The flesh and fluids are not good, but the fluids, the dairy, man, I had tartar buildup really good, especially on my lower bottom on the back side. I had my own like metal pick I would scrape off.
Yep.
I don't have that anymore. Yeah, the body odor, the dandruff. But yeah, the body odor is huge, man, because in life, like we connect with certain people, you have these pheromones. And, you know, if you want to attract someone, it's kind of interesting. It's not even, not necessarily what you wear, what cologne you have, or the clothes, you know, you're, you know, like I said, what you wear or how you look. It's the pheromones that really can kind of attract you towards somebody or repel you.
Yeah.
And yeah, the body odors or the smell that's coming out the other end of the tube, right? That's not the same either. Like
No.
when you rip one, it's like, that doesn't even really smell that bad. You know, if I have like nutritional yeast or some cashews, like a cashew dressing, I'm like, it smells like nooch, you know? But it's not like it used to be where it would drive people out of the room or you're embarrassed because you're like, shoot, I have bad gas today. And this is like, I can't even stand it myself. It's so gross, right? It's interesting.
Yep.
Different things change, man. So many different things change. And then when you, look at it into nutrition, you're like, it makes sense because I'm eating more the way that I was designed to be eating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. Yeah, like you, I had really, really heavy tartar on my teeth. And I had one of those metal picks too. And yeah, now that I eat this way, I don't have that at all. You know, my breath is better. As you said, you know, your armpits don't smell as, you know, like they used to.
Allergies. I used to have a roll of toilet paper with me everywhere I went because I was so snotty. I was constantly blowing my nose, but I ate a lot of dairy. We would buy those, you know, big blocks of cheddar cheese, and we'd have cheddar cheese like every single day. Lots of cottage cheese, lots of milk.
Yep.
And yeah, super, super mucusy. Allergies, I would have allergies, you know, so I was on Claritin. I had asthma growing up. All of these things cleared up when I cut that out. And then, of course, you know, I understanding, you know, being a little older, having to research this stuff myself, it was like, I don't need this. Like, this is unnecessary. It's unnecessary. Yeah. So when you have that kind of a mind, because I could be thinking, I'm going to be lacking if I don't have my dairy products. And very possibly, I could kind of like do some mental acrobats in my mind and make myself feel worse because I'm so fixed on needing dairy. But when you understand, like, you don't need it and you embody that, like, I don't need this. Yep. It's an amazing feeling. It's like liberating. And then, of course, it's tricky when you go out into the world, though, and you see, like, it's not set up, man. It's in a way, it's like, what do you do when you want to kill a bunch of rats? Right? Like, you lure them with like tasty poison.
Peanut butter or
right. Yeah. You know, you put your little, you know, strychnine in it or something. Right. And not to say that the food out there is like poisonous. Obviously, we're able to sustain life into our 50s or more, or, you know, there's people having heart attacks in their 30s, of course, but right. 2 Little Caesars pizzas for $5, man.
Yeah.
Or $12 for a bag of grapes. If you have a family, right? Like, yeah. It's not set up. It's not set up for us to be nourished and thriving. It's a weird, I mean, after, you know, for me, after 9/11, I was like, give everything to me. I want to know everything. I was like 21 or something. Yeah. I was 23 or 24. Yeah, I think it was like 23, 24. But I wanted to know everything that there was to know about conspiracies and everything. And I was like, wow, this is like an amazing revolving door. I didn't make the connection then.
Yeah.
But it's not set up for us to be healthy. It's set up to keep us sick.
Yep.
In like a low grade sickness in a way, not to say that heart attacks and colon cancer and breast cancer is not as low grade. That's some high grade sickness. But
yeah,
you know, it's so easy. You know, buy the 2 pizzas for $5 and we'll give you a 2 liter of pop for free.
Right.
Well, of course you're going to go get those.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's pretty ridiculous, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. As my brother says, if your meal is less than a pack of gum, you know, there's something going on, you know? So,
right.
You know,
yeah. When the soda is cheaper than the water.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. So, let's see. I mean, there's so many. Yeah, 9/11 was a big eye opener for me as well. That really got me digging into, you know, doing my own research and looking into, you know, things outside of what, you know, the mainstream was saying.
Yeah.
Fluoride was actually huge. That was maybe the first thing that opened my eyes, was the fact that they're putting fluoride into the water. Yeah, is essentially medicating, you know, the entire nation without anybody's consent.
Yeah.
And so
totally.
that was a big thing for me that really got me just looking into, you know, why things are done that are done, you know?
Yeah. It's weird, man, because it's like, this is the inverted matrix. It's the inverted world. Everything's backwards in so many ways. But, you know, if you get the standard education, right, from school, you've got the standard education, you have to teach yourself. You have to educate yourself. And that can be really tricky because there's so many billboards out there that are saying, come run and play, right? And it's a lot easier to not spend time in researching and understanding, you know, the ways that things are set up and how the detriments are, because it's not necessarily inherent in us to all have cancer by the time we're a certain age or to have these different problems. It's what we are. And of course, the fluoride in the water, the, you know, what's being sprayed in the air. I remember watching that documentary, What in the World Are They Spraying?
Yep.
And it was like, it doesn't matter if you're a family that had your child on an island, because they had that family in Hawaii. They did the hair follicle test. They still have the same metals and stuff within them that we have over here in our cities, because we're in this terrarium. Yeah. It's a one big terrarium that we live in. So no matter what, but of course, not to be scared.
Right.
It's frustrating for sure, but it's nice to be aware. Yeah. And then that awareness can bring change. And I mean, look at, man, I mean, this right here, what we're connecting with and communicating through with all these beautiful people that are popping in, this is probably technology that, you know, the world management team never wanted to get out, but like, look at us now, man, like it, you know, but of course there's a lot of distractions and there's a lot of things that keep us from the truth. Right. And, you know, the truth is going to be different for everybody, but the truth is, if we look out there, like, I mean, we're not, back in the day, you only lived to like 30 or 40, right? You know, everybody's got dental issues, like everybody, but maybe we weren't necessarily, I don't know. It's so crazy, man. Like life is so crazy, and any of these trails can be a real big distraction in a lot of ways, but you see, like, yeah, exactly. Why would they put stuff like that in there? Very possibly the story is, which we want to believe, that, oh, well, they thought that it was going to be good for our dental health. This is going to be really good for our dental health. But then you kind of do a little more digging. Well, who came up with this? You know, like, oh, these are the same people that brought us like the atom bomb, you know, Agent Orange and stuff. Like, okay, oh, they're putting aluminum in the deodorant. Okay, why? Oh, because it'll make you not sweat. But, well, aren't we supposed to sweat? You know, well, isn't it a pain to have sweaty armpits? That's embarrassing. It's like, man. But it's all a part of the evolution, man. We're evolving, connecting through these devices, communicating ideas, and waking up in a lot of ways to ways that aren't necessarily beneficial to us as humans, to the planet, and to the way that we're treating the animals. You know, it's amazing. But it's hard. It's really hard. It is so much easier to stay sleeping here in Satan's playground, right? Like everything is in so many ways, everything is not everything, but there's so many things that are just so backwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a week long, episode 24/7, and we could, it still wouldn't be enough time to talk about all the backwards things that we experience in this society.
But yeah, those little bits, like you're saying, those little bits that come in, you're like, wait a minute, huh? Yeah, I didn't consent to this, but I'm drinking this, or I'm washing my body with this.
Yeah.
Or, I'm cooking my potatoes or my noodles in this, like
yeah, I know.
I'm breathing the vapors,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really at every turn, but like you said, it's not that we should be, overcome with fear. The point is that we should become aware of as much as we possibly can, so that we can do as much as is within our means to protect ourselves, and keep ourselves and our families and our loved ones healthy, and protected from these things as best we can. So yeah, just look at it as an opportunity to, reduce your exposure to these types of things so that you can live a long, happy life.
Right. Exactly, man.
Yeah. All right. So the last point before we get to the Q&A that I wanted to throw out there, and the men are going to love this, especially if they're not already vegan or plant-based, getting into this diet and this lifestyle, I truly believe makes us better lovers and better partners. Right. So, on various levels, from the better blood flow to our fun things and our brain, and to, just having, even more balanced hormones, right? More balanced hormones that keep us from having the extreme ups and downs of emotion, where we're balanced, so that we're not getting into, it seems like, the majority of couples I see out there now, they're drinking alcohol and things like this, which can really, I think alcohol is one of the worst things for relationships.
100%.
But just having those inconsistent emotional states, I think, really wreaks havoc on relationships, and things like that. So I think it's really important that people start to balance their hormones with this sort of a diet, so that they see benefits in their relationships and in their lovemaking as well.
Yeah, man. 100%. Like you said, alcohol it's not a good relationship building drug.
No.
And here we are, bro. We live right downtown Las Vegas. We go to bed, we're in bed at 8:00 at night, like we don't partake in the stereotypical Vegas nightlife. But I love Vegas in so many ways. The people here are amazing. Everybody's really friendly. It's unlike any other city that I've ever visited. And, but you see the alcohol, and then of course, my stories that I have, or memories, I should say, with alcohol and with my previous relationship. It's not beneficial, and it's interesting because in a way, like, we're drinking because we want to cut loose, we want to be able to go dance and not have to feel like self-conscious or something, rather, right? But how much more awesome is it if we could just be ourselves and not have to take something like that to let loose, to give ourselves the permission to just like be free and dance, or and of course there's maybe things that are said in that kind of a state that wouldn't be said if you were fully conscious. Alcohol, man, is that's a horrible thing in a lot of ways. But I can say that there's been times, and I know it's probably been the same for you, like some of my best parties that I remember, I had a really fat buzz, man. Like, I was like, this is the most amazing night, connecting with people. So not to say that it's completely all bad, all evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, the emotional state and how it messes with our hormones, that's a huge thing right there. I mean, gosh, a person could study 10,000 hours on just the detriments of alcohol. I don't really feel that there's too many benefits. I mean, there's, the studies on red wine and, these kinds of things, and this, you know, maybe a little beneficial here and there. But then again, though, it's interesting. It's like, that's how we connect. Like, let's get together and have some wine. You get a buzz on and everybody's walls come down.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can kind of really see who people are in those states. But it's not like, maybe that's not even who they are. Like, my ex was very quiet. And when she got buzzed, she was like very, you know, she wasn't the same person, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, you know, is it fake in a way? Like you know, it can be disguised as this real connection, this real thing. Well, the real connection is being, like you're saying, completely open. Your hormones are balanced. You can have a good communication. You know, of course, we need laughter. We need humor, you know, and I feel like a lot of people take life so serious. Everything's so serious a lot of times. And that's another way to kind of like bring the walls down, is you can kind of laugh at each other. So, but it's sad that we need something like that substance to get to that level. And not to say that it's not, you know, I mean, I never had a problem with drinking. I never was into drinking. I had friends that have problems with drinking. They drink every day. And, but yeah, man, and like you're saying too, the intimacy, this lifestyle, I mean, when you get into understanding, we don't have to like understand at a level where we're like scientists and doctors explaining it to people. It's hard to really ingest a lot of the information. It's going to take 25 years to really, you know, some people are real articulate. They can explain something they read perfectly just the day before. For me personally, it's not really that way. Like, all of the stuff makes sense though. The blood flow, right? Like, what's happening to our arteries, our circulatory system, man, you know, I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons that I went raw, was meeting this 86-year-old on a ski lift he didn't say he was a full raw vegan. He said he was a raw foodie, and he'd eaten he's like, I'm into living foods. So I don't know what kind of heat processed foods or cooked foods he had eaten through his life, but he was diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer, colon cancer, at the age of 42, which is very common. And then I've been a raw foodie ever since for 44 years. Now, a raw foodie can be someone who is just eating 70% of their calories from raw foods. You don't have to be 100%, 95%, 80%. Of course, that's going to be better than, but if you're eating 70% raw, you're a raw foodie.
Yeah.
So this guy reversed his stage 4 colorectal cancer. He was raw for 44 years. Like, I was on the lift with him for only about 12 minutes. So it's like, how much can you really talk about in that time?
Yeah.
I didn't get his number, didn't get his last name. Who knows if he was even real? Part of me is like, was this just my future self coming back to tell me to make this switch right now? Because I asked him, I was like, hey, as a dude, because I was working in the coronary care unit at the time.
Yeah. I
was like, how's the flagpole? And he's like, full mast. I'm like, oh, no way. All right, I'm doing this, because I know people who are my age and even younger who were having problems with their blood flow in the downstairs department.
Right.
And, you know, when we think about our circulatory system, our aorta, the main artery going into our heart, is the size of like a big straw, like a McDonald's straw. You know how McDonald's straws are bigger than the other straws, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the one going to our member, females and males alike, is the size of one of those little black coffee stir stick straws.
Wow. So
which is going to be the one that gives us the telltale sign first, right? Like, it's going to be like, I'm having problems down there. It's not working the same. So as a man, I was like, shoot, I want a full mast flagpole at the age of 86. Heck yeah.
Yeah, man.
So that was it, man. That was one of the main kickers for me, as well as him, you know, skiing at 86 years old. I was like, dude, like, sign me up. I really wish I would have got his number. I really regret not getting that, because I would have loved to connect with him. Yeah. I would have drove 20 hours to go hang out with him and just talk to him, because I wasn't a raw foodie at that time. I didn't know anything, but you know, that's what started it for me. It was like, all right, well, I want to keep it going good in the bedroom. You know, that's a huge part as a human. It's a very, you know, important aspect of being a human is being able to reach those levels without having kind of, you know, issues or taking medications to be able to perform properly.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And, you know, I think that goes to, you know, back to the ability to tap into your emotional intelligence. You know, it shows how it, with this guy that you met on the ski lift, you know, he was able to really get his, you know, his energy into you, you know, and share the message that would really resonate with you. And again, I think that is just another example of showing how when you become a raw foodie, a raw foodist, that you start to have a greater ability to, you know, share your energy in a positive way and affect the people around you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what happened. You weren't a raw foodie at that point, and so he was still able to connect with you in the way that you needed to hear it, and that's life. So,
and of course, I was ethically vegan at the time, and I was studying nutrition, and I was working in the medical industry. I was seeing things that were horrible. You know, a lot of it caused by diet.
right.
Especially the unit that I worked in, people aren't going there because they got in a car accident. You know, they're going to the ICU for that, but the CCU, the coronary care unit, they're coming because they've got these issues with their heart, cholesterol, you know, all these different issues through. Yeah, so it's interesting because, you know, being in this sort of niche of raw veganism, I definitely feel that there is, you know, there's, like any diet, there's a right way and a wrong way. A wrong way being something that's not going to serve you long term.
Yep.
And that's the part that's kind of tricky, is seeing like, okay, you know, we don't have to be, I don't necessarily, I have, you know, different viewpoints on how we, you know, an individual should come into being raw or eating lots of fruits and vegetables. I believe that someone should just start incorporating more of these foods into their day-to-day life and eventually like crowd out the other stuff with these sorts of things. Because as we see the new sciences that are coming out with the gastroenterologists, you know, and studying the poo and studying the microbiome, our microbiome changes within 5 minutes. So it depends, like every single bite is going to make this change.
Yeah.
But this guy had said, man, he's like, if you are what you eat, what do you want to be, Nate? You know, and I'm like, I want to be alive and thriving like you, man. And he's all, there you go. Like, eat living and thriving foods. And it made perfect sense. Like, there was little things that just made sense, but my receptors were already open to this information. I wasn't like trying to be like, oh, dude, you're, you know, yeah, that's crazy, you know, but he did connect because of that disease, him being on the hill. I want to ski when I'm, you know, 80s. And I want good blood flow. So that right there sealed it for me. I was like, I got to do this. I got to figure this out. This makes sense, perfect sense. And I, you know, yeah, I mean, but yeah, somebody doesn't have to be, that's the part that's tricky. Like in this niche, you know, it's interesting. Like I'm sad in a lot of ways because we're lazy as people, really. And, you know, there's ways to eat any diet and be lazy and not thriving, both raw and not raw, you know?
Yep.
So, you know, that's the biggest thing, man. It's just like, you know, just incorporating more living foods, more raw foods. You're going to feel better. Your body's going to respond. I mean, we see the studies aren't out on raw vegans yet, right? The studies are out on someone going whole food, plant-based, low oil to no oil, low salt, low sugar, low processed foods. And we're still seeing incredible benefits and people changing their life by just that. Like, so you don't have to be 100% or 90%. I feel like people get, you know, what I really get bummed out is seeing people go downward spiral by restricting themselves or trying to keep this one ideal that this is the end all be all, heal all. You have to do it this way to clean yourself before you eat raw foods. I think that's just a bunch of bullshit, man. I feel that we should just be eating more raw foods, and we're going to see benefits. Maybe eventually you're like, because not everybody can really go 100% all raw. Some people need that for whatever reason. I feel I've always pumped 70-30, 80-20, 80%, 70, 80% raw, the other 30 to 20% cooked, whole food, plant-based, like minimal processed food. If you can keep the processed food out, but say you're out one time with some friends and you're always vegan pizza place. Whatever, have a piece of vegan pizza. Don't trip on it. Don't be like, I fell off because I had a piece of vegan pizza. Now I'm going to just go eat fast food, or I'm going to Chipotle every day.
Right.
Like it's just, we're so like extreme in a lot of ways, and we're lazy. So that's the part that's tricky is, I really I have a hard time, to be honest with you, Matt, with the niche or the community that we're in a lot of ways. Yeah. But Lisa and if you were to calculate the calories that we get, we would be fruitarian, because the majority of the calories that we're getting are from fruit. Right. We have big, massive salads, but a good portion of calories is because of the fruit that we have in the salad. The tomatoes, the cucumber, which are fruits, as well as the date-based dressings, which are, that's where we're getting our calories. So that's what I've always appreciated about you too, bro, is, your approach to it. It's tricky because there's different approaches. And I hate to see people go backwards by basically messing up their gut microbiome. So to the point, because we've seen, like, I've got a dozen people on my sheet, of people who have wrecked themselves and had to go back to eating animal flesh and fluids because they've malnourished themselves to the point where, or they're going crazy, as we know what's happening back there in New York, that whole scene. Right. People go mental because they're not nourishing themselves. And that's just sad, man. That's just sad. But yeah, whatever, we get on some tangents, the emotional aspect, there we go. It's all this emotional, but to stay balanced, we just got to eat an abundance, a variety of plants. That's what we're seeing, in these different indigenous cultures that we love to look upon. They're eating like 80 to 100 grams of fiber a day, like very little animal flesh and fluid. So, and then, when we look at our averages over here in the westernized worlds, like, we're getting like 5% of our RDA in fiber, and fiber is so huge. That's the nutrient that feeds the microbiome. Like, we don't digest it. It's for our little dudes down there, right? Like, they need it. So yeah, but that's where it's fun to be able to communicate through these devices, share ideas. Like, I'm no expert. I'm a total amateur. I'm a student. I will be a student until the day I die, man. Like, it's we're actually in this course right now called Mastering Raw Food Nutrition with Doctors Rick and Karen Dina. And that's an amazing course. Yeah. And of course, I'm really looking forward to embodying this kind of information to be able to connect with other people and try to inspire them with a few were answering their questions really simply, like John did for me, to where people have that aha moment and go, okay, this makes sense. I just need to eat more fruits and vegetables, plain and simple. Grandma was right. Eat your fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, man. I everything you said there, I just completely resonate with. I share that same frustration with, kind of the overall, the majority of the messages that we hear coming out of the, the raw vegan movement is, it's I don't see it as being, it's maybe only practical for like 0.5% of people. Totally. And you got the other, 99% of people that just isn't a way that's going to work for them in a practical way. And so it's, just focusing on crowding out the bad foods, the harmful foods with fresh fruits and vegetables, working your way into it comfortably. You know, feel free to push yourself a little bit, but don't have perfection as your, you know, viewpoint. You always just want to be improving as much as you can, in a way that is sustainable and healthy, you know, for the long term. And that's, yeah, I think you're spot on with that. So yeah.
Just crowding it out, man. And that's the thing too, like, you know, we'll get people, you know, asking us like why we're not into certain things or why we don't believe a certain way. And it's like, look, we're not trying to make the vegans or the raw vegans more perfect or more raw, more vegan. You know, we're trying to connect with people who are just out there driving through the drive-throughs, drinking the funk, and just try to inspire people to eat more raw, fresh fruits and vegetables. Like, you know, the people who are in this circle, this niche, this community, they're going to do their thing. And there's a lot of people we really resonate with, but there's a lot of people that cringe us out in a lot of ways. And it's hard to get on with them because it's dangerous in a way because of the fact of understanding you're not hitting your micronutrient needs. Yeah, it's not attainable for the majority of the population because we're not living in these tropical areas with, you know, fresh fruits growing all over the place. And even then, you know, when we talk about what are they spraying in the air, right? Like there's no perfection anywhere, but we can see though, with the studies, whole food, plant-based, like reversing coronary artery disease, reversing diabetes, reversing colorectal cancer, right? You know, like, it's amazing. You don't have to be extreme. I think the majority of the population is definitely sick in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think that everybody could benefit from a break from all the crap, but even just eating like one day of raw, right? Or raw till 4. I love that whole raw till 4 concept. I feel that's really easy and attainable for people.
Yep.
Smoothies and fresh fruit for breakfasts, you know, or banana ice cream, you know, banana ice cream, smoothies, fruit, or big salads for lunch, fruit for snacks, and then have your cooked meal at night, right? Like that's going to be better than having animal products in every single meal and snack, right? So even then people are going to see massive benefits, even if they're eating their fish or their, you know, flesh, other, you know, beef, pork or whatever at night, they're still going to see they're going to feel better having done, you know, a morning or a day's worth of raw and having their cooked stuff at night with their family or their friends. Because I feel it's like we're pretty extreme, like we're all or nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. We can see massive benefits. But of course, you know, you're like, I feel good. All right, I'm going all in, you know, like all in. I'm eating nothing but fruits and vegetables. And then it's fun because you're like, you're getting in tune with that creative kid side of yourself. You're like, I don't know what to make. Okay, I got to research like recipes, get in your book, 5-star salads, understanding how to make a good dressing. That's right there. So simple because, you know, people don't necessarily need a book if they pick up the understanding of those key components to what makes a good dressing.
Right.
There it is, man. Because the dressing will make or break your salad. Yeah. Right.
Oh,
so
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. Totally, man. And likewise, I mean, you and Lissa, you guys make amazing salads, you know. And so you guys have plenty of books out there teaching people how to do this as well. So anybody that's interested in learning this lifestyle, you know, that's one reason why the bundle that you guys are, you know, that you guys put on is so, you know, beneficial for people. And so whenever those come around, it's such a great opportunity to get all of these recipes and the instruction on how to create these things so that, you know, people can make these a sustainable, you know, practice for the long term.
Yeah, those bundles are incredible. I mean, they're ridiculous. I think it's unfathomable for people looking in who are like on the fence. They're like, oh, this has got to be too good to be true. Or what is this? Some kind of scam or something? It's like, no, this is all these individuals, these creators coming together, trying to, hey, the healthier we all are, if we're all different versions of each other. I love how Ram Dass says, we're all walking each other home and treat everyone you meet like God in drag. Like, boom, that's a powerful way to live. So, you know, we want each other to be healthy and happy and inspiring one another. Nobody's got all the answers, but we all have a few, right?
Right.
So yeah, these bundles, man, when they come along, and we're only involved in everything that we're involved in has to be vegan, ethically, like vegan. So the plant-based bundle or the vegan or our raw bundle, man, yeah, it's something we can stand behind. We really truly believe in. And of course, everything's gone through before we, you know, for our bundle, we're like, okay, is this going to be legit? Like, we don't want, you know, something that doesn't make sense or resonate, you know, like,
Yep.
yeah.
I hear you. Well, all right, man. Should we get into some of the Q&A?
Sure. Yeah, man.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's already 12:15. Do you have a hard stop time or?
No, I
Okay.
don't today, man. It's Sunday. So I was stoked to hang out with you, bro.
All right, man. Likewise. Okay, so I am going to try and scroll back through here, and we're gonna get to some of these questions that people have been putting in. Man, there is a lot of questions.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, let's see what we can do. We can try to bang out some questions, man. I want people to get some answers to their questions.
Definitely. All right, so anybody that I don't see your questions, and I'm going to start out in actually the question section, that little section box or that question box, because that is where we would really prefer you guys to put the questions. It just makes it so much easier for us to keep track of them and go back to them later in the video. So let's take a look in here. So we've got High Vibes Amy asks, what do you think about showing footage of animal cruelty to children, like in Cubes of Truth?
Well, you know, I think, honestly, I think it's an amazing idea, right? Like, my whole philosophy with my kids was I want to teach my kids how to live in the world rather than protect them from this world. So when they are grown up, they're not like, what the fuck's going on out here, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I feel that it's a really powerful thing because kids are already intuitively in tune with that because they're closer to source or God. They just came into this world. They haven't had years and years of conditioning and indoctrination. I think it's a beautiful thing because they're going to be, very possibly the majority of them are going to see that is just like, if that's what's going on, they're not going to want a part of it. And
Right.
I mean, yeah, so it's traumatic. That's really traumatic. But these are the images that we hold. That way it really helps us. When you go into the store, like now when we go into the store, I've always hated the seafood section, even when I was eating flesh and fluids. Like,
Yeah.
it's gross smelling. Even like when you go to the ports and the coast, like that smell is like, ugh. But when you go to the store, say as a child, seeing that, they're going to see those pieces of flesh in a different light, right? Because there's actually like a deeper connection of what it is and where it came from and how it got to the cellophane wrapped, pretty package in the store. And then whatever they're putting on it to make it, stay pinker for longer is a whole nother thing, right? But it's a powerful thing. And I know like a lot of people want to protect their kids from seeing that kind of stuff. They don't want to see it themselves. I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, the two of us, Liz and I, we tap in periodically, not to be like punishing ourselves or anything, but just to like, I don't know. I mean, there's a really good book called The Joyful Vegan. And that is an amazing book. She does such a great way I can't remember the name of the author, but we just listened to it on audio, and she has such a great way about it, talking about like there's certain people who really like to ingest this kind of footage, and and I feel that it's it can go both sides. But yeah, definitely I don't see anything wrong with showing our kids where stuff comes from and how it's processed, how we get it to where it's at in then they're able to make that decision too when they grow up. Like, I don't necessarily know if I want to buy body parts. It's weird when you think about it. Like, well, those are body parts to another animal. I love Vegan Sheepdog. He had a great reel that he put out yesterday saying like, what if we ate what if pigs were our pets and we ate dogs?
Yeah.
Right. And, when someone's going to eat a pig, people would be freaking out. It's so crazy, the speciesism or the disconnect that we have. So I feel like that's powerful, bringing that connection home.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course it's traumatic, 100%. Like it's traumatic. It's traumatic for, I don't care what age you are.
No, man, I watched Earthlings when I was, I think, 25 years old. And at 25 years old, it was extremely traumatic to me.
Yeah.
Like I was completely devastated. I mean, it really hit me pretty deep.
It's nice how they do the different aspects too, like the fashion industry.
Yeah.
Because that's something, you don't really think of. You think of just the products you're eating. You're like, oh my gosh, look at all the stuff that is, animal based, like leather. Dude, I love leather products.
Yeah.
I don't buy them, but I mean, back in the day, like a leather pair of gloves or boots and some chaps or something, burling through some blackberries, right? Like it's hard, but now we're coming out with synthetic leather. I've got a pair of rock climbing shoes. You couldn't tell they're not leather.
Yeah.
So it's, these are the things though, we become aware, we start to vote for, we start to say, hey, I don't want that anymore. I want this. And these corporations and these amazing individuals are going to come up with different ideas of how we can make certain things synthetic.
Yep.
Like synthetic, the down in the sleeping bags. There's nothing like down. But I don't buy down anymore because it's like, I don't care how greenwashed the label is of like, oh, it's ethically, plucked. No, bullshit. Like you can't hold a bird down and pull out its feathers and say it's like, no. So we have to come out with different ways of doing things. And, it's all about understanding how do we get it? Because if we're unattached to how it actually comes or how we get it, how does that leather come or the fur coats or the down, or the wool, these things that are really amazing. Like I'm a real outdoorsy person and the gear is like, man, like we have a long ways to go, but we're getting there. There's a lot more synthetics coming out. But of course it's understanding how it comes. And that's what's cool about Earthlings is it taps into that too. Where you're like, holy cow, like Seaspiracy was another, I mean, all of these documentaries, they're yeah, for sure. They're trying to sway the minds of the masses. Yep. They're doing a good job when we're open and we look at the data. You can't help but to be like, I don't want to vote for that anymore. If my purchasing power is voting, I don't want to vote for that. Right. And then of course, if we can start with our kids, man, they're going to be like, no, Mom, I don't want any meat.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Give me the oranges. Give me the carrots.
Spot on. Yeah, I know. I loved fruit growing up as a kid, but we just didn't have it around that often. I mean, it was around, but mostly I would go to like potato chips and crackers and cereal and things like this. Yeah. And like deli meats and things, because that seemed to be like what snacking was supposed to be, and fruit was like just kind of a random thing. Sometimes you have it,
Right.
So
yeah, I know, it's so crazy. And of course, fruit, like when you start to actually like, you got to eat fruit though. You can't just eat, one orange. Like, it's like a teaser, but if you eat like 4 oranges, like you're like, okay, I feel pretty good.
Yeah. Or
like yesterday we went shopping and it was like, all right, we bought a thing of grapes at Costco and we just, like we weren't able to like wash them the best that we like to wash them. We gave them a rinse with our water and then put them in a bowl and put them in the center of us in the truck. And we just munched on those grapes while we did the rest of our errands.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, exactly. We just got to switch. It feels better. No, it's not the same as when you really though are present with the food, like a cracker. It's like just this doughy, and of course, if all the different additives of flavor, if there's flavors and there's salts and different, whatever natural flavors they put in there, it's not the greatest. Like, it's just this, but it's interesting though. Totally. We have to change, we have to recalibrate what we look at as what is food? What is a snack food? A snack food is, for us, snacks are fruit, 100%. Like we'll mono meal. The only time we'll ever mono meal is the snack. We never, well, I shouldn't say that. Breakfast, sometimes lunches.
Okay.
But you know, those are the mono meals, like just eating a grip of one kind of fruit.
Sure. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree with what you said that you know, it might be a little traumatic, but it brings awareness for showing children you know, the reality of where these animal products are coming from. And just to make a selfish plug here, shameless plug, you know, I have a children's book here
Love it.
that I really inspired from watching the movie Earthlings. And so if anybody has a child that they want to get it's a non-graphic way to introduce children to the reality of what happens to farm animals. So, you know, there's different approaches that you can take to exposing children to these realities. You know, you can get children's books like this one, or you can just show them documentaries like Earthling.
Yeah.
You know, both are going to have a different effect. So it's really just, you know, going to be up to the parent to decide which, you know, way is going to be the most beneficial to the child in making it, you know, that connection with.
Yeah.
I think both should be used
100%.
because, you know, I think what parents have to ask is, if I can't show my child where their food comes from, is that really the food? Is that really even food, for one? But
Yeah.
is that what they should be consuming if
Right.
it's something they can't even handle looking at how it's produced? So,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
true, man.
yeah.
And it's crazy too. I know that, you know, there's different controversy about, you know, the cartoons and stuff that are out there that we grew up with. But there's there's a vegan tone in a lot of ways in these movies, like Bambi, say, or The Fox and the Hound, right? These kinds of movies where you're like, it hurts, right? Like it strikes a chord within you. And so, yeah, kids, of course, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in tune with your, you know, that side of yourself, you know, as a man, you know, I feel like any man who's in touch with that side of themselves is going to feel something when they're watching something like that. Yeah. Earthlings, or a cartoon like Bambi, or Brother Bear, man, it was so good. Or say, yeah, like your book there, those are great just to make that connection, to see these animals in a different way. Yeah, we do have a long ways to go, man. Like 100%. It's, you know, every time we drive by Chick-fil-A, like if there's like 20 cars, they have a double drive-through. People out there taking orders, you know, like we got a long ways to go, man.
We do. I know. It's you know, if you really let yourself get, you know, really engulfed by everything that we're seeing, it can be overwhelming. But
Totally.
you know, I think it's important for, you know, people like us, or, you know, the average person that's just trying to, you know, understand how the world works, kind of. Don't you know, don't take it all on like you have to change the world, you know.
Right.
Be aware of it. Just don't let it overwhelm you, and just start making small steps, you know, like you said, you're trying to change your diet, you know, small steps towards that bigger goal. I love have you seen that cartoon where there's two ladders and there's two people like going up the ladders? One ladder has a lot of small, you know, steps to climb up, and the other ladder has like a bunch of long steps between them. And the guy that has, you know, people that are trying to take those huge, massive leaps all at one time, they can't climb that ladder because it's just too much at one time.
Right.
So those many little steps towards the top is easier way to go for most people.
Definitely, man. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to, looks like Tessa. Hey, Tessa. She asked, at what age did each of you go raw vegan?
I was 40. Yeah, so it's been just about 6 years for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I was somewhere, it was either 24 or 25, you know. It was, yeah. So I didn't go raw right away. It took me about a year before I was really like comfortable with the raw side of it. So it was most likely somewhere when I was 25.
It's awesome, man.
Yep.
Yeah. if I could turn back time, like Cher says, right?
Yeah, I know. Me too.
I definitely would have hopped on sooner, but hey, you know, whatever, better late than never. I feel that if somebody's 60, 70, heck, 80, you know,
Yeah,
whatever, start incorporating more. Yeah.
100%, 100%. And yeah, I'll be 36 here in just a few months. So
Nice. Heck yeah, man.
yeah. All right. So the next question comes from Carl Eady. How can I make it easy to be raw in Scotland? I also suffer from the cold, even in the warmer months as well.
Mm, that's a good one. You know, well, my wife, Lissa, she, you know, lived in Canada when I met her, and she was raw up in Canada for a good 2 years, a little more than 2 years. So I know it can be done in the colder climates. It is tricky in a way for, you know, depending on what kind of food sources you have there. But, you know, there's tricks that you can do. There's a lot of things you can leave out on your counter. So it's not cold, like your bell peppers, your cucumbers, your tomatoes, you know, lettuce, of course, if you're going to eat it, you know, that day, you could take it out, you know, a few hours or so before lunchtime or dinner time, so it's not as cold. Um, you know, I don't necessarily feel that there's anything wrong with like some warm tea or something like that. Like I just was actually hiking on the Colorado Trail, it was freezing cold, caught in a hailstorm, and one of the guys that I met on the trail had his little teapot and he made some chamomile tea and he kept everybody's tea full. And I really was like, this is amazing. Like I don't drink tea, but I was like, this is absolutely incredible. If you're cold, your hands are cold, you just come out from the cold, like some warm tea or something. But those would be some of my tricks, as well as, you know, adding other things that help your blood flow, like some, you know, different peppers, cayenne pepper, some of these hot peppers and stuff that you can add to your dressings or to your meals. That's going to help, you know, keep your temperature up. You know, depends on if you run cold or you run hot. You know, that would be some of my tricks. You know, what about you, bro?
Yeah. Well, you know, like you said, you know, before when you were mentioning that, you know, there's people going on raw, or not raw, they're going on just the whole food plant-based diet and they're getting amazing health results. You know, we can look at the blue zones, you know, they're some of the healthiest people, or they historically were. You know, they weren't 100% raw. So again, raw is amazing and it's terrific, but personally, if you're in Scotland, like, hey, I live in Minnesota, I'm not opposed during the winter months, especially like between seasons when it's like the oranges aren't really here yet. They're not really good quality, and all the summer fruits are kind of, you know, iffy now. I'm not opposed myself to having some steamed vegetables or some vegetable soup, you know, with my salad. Now, I always eat, if I'm going to eat cooked food, I always eat it with a salad, you know, a raw leafy green salad. If I don't digest it that well. So when I do eat it with a big raw salad, my digestion is still great. And so, you know, and in my book, you know, 21-day raw transformation program, that's why I give people two different paths to take. You can be 100% raw all the time if you want. I think that's amazing. But if you're living in a place like Scotland or Minnesota, now it can be done in Minnesota. Obviously, Lissa was doing it in Canada. It really it's going to depend. There's so many factors that go into, you know, how big the city is that you live in, what kind of grocery stores they've got. You know, people that live in Toronto, in Canada, have an amazing selection because they have this, it's like a hub, right? So they've got a bunch of really amazing selections for groceries or for fruits. And so there's people that live probably, you know, half an hour away from, or like an hour away from me, who, you know, they basically have this one dinky little grocery store that doesn't even
like
have
food desert.
Yeah, exactly. And so you really just have to be practical, in my opinion. You don't necessarily have to focus on being 100% raw. Be as raw as you possibly can. Be as raw as is practical long term, right? And don't get fixated on like having to be 100% raw, because like Nate pointed out, we've got, you know, people going on a whole food plant-based diet. reversing health issues, getting super healthy. And so, understand whole plant foods, even if they're, steamed or whatnot, they can still be a part of a healthy, whole food, raw, dominated diet, right?
Yeah,
And
the
that's my,
steamed.
yeah,
Yeah, that's such great advice too, man. Yeah, and the steamed or boiled,
yep,
yeah, when it's that time of year, when it's cold. Another cool thing I wanted to say too is like get into sprouting, get
yeah,
into growing microgreens, these kinds of things. You can harvest microgreens in 10 days. You're getting some good nutrients there. Of course, there's not a lot of calories there, but it's a great way to add to, say, if you add boiled potato or some steamed broccoli, throw
yep,
some fresh sprouts over top of that, and you're going to get some more micronutrients there.
yep,
Throw some fresh microgreens. Of course, yeah, you can put those kinds of things on anything. But yeah, it's a great thing too, man. Exactly like you're saying. If it's those months that are really cold, that's the thing. It's like it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It's
right,
just like do the best you can, and what you're inspired to do. Yeah, and then of course keep the variety up, right? Like
yeah,
lots of variety. It can be real easy to be eating the same thing. We kind of like typically eat the same thing no matter what diet we follow. We
yeah.
kind of fall back on these certain things. Yeah, but I know that's a great advice for sure for those colder climates.
Thanks, bro. All right. So somebody, Miss938 says, buying all not organic. Okay. So what if somebody can't buy any organic? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, this is a real controversial one within certain communities. Doesn't have to be just the raw community or vegan community. And I mean, it's a shame to picture what is being sprayed on stuff, organic or not, because even organic farms are spraying stuff. I mean, when you're growing anything big time agriculturally, and you've got pests that are going to wipe out your crop, you're going to do what you can to save your crop. That's how you make your money.
Right.
And maybe these people who are vegan crops, they're veganic soil, they're spraying the best that they can. That's not, some kind of crazy pesticide, but it's still organic, but it still has stuff on there. I don't know, like personally, I feel like, I mean, some unorganic, conventionally grown produce is going to be better than the donuts, the pizza, the salad, or the fries. So when you're making your dishes, I don't know, clean 15, dirty dozen. Those are great to go on as best as you can. But for me and Lissa personally, we don't trip out and freak ourselves out if we're eating something that is conventionally grown.
Yeah.
I just don't feel that it's like we're all gonna die. We're all going to have some kind of issues, most likely. This life isn't about just having a smooth sailing life, but I feel like we can kind of do more damage to ourselves in a lot of ways by just having this mindset of it has to be one way or nothing. And
Yep.
so, yeah, I don't ever trip out on eating conventionally grown stuff. If it's, say, like cucumbers, if I can't get any English cucumbers, which are the long cucumbers that are wrapped in cellophane, typically those don't have any wax on them like conventional cucumbers, and they have to do that to protect them, right? So a lot of these, conventionally grown places, if they're not like from a farmer's market, it's going to have like a wax on it, like carnauba wax. So we just peel the cucumber. Of course, like it would be nice to get the nutrients that's in the peel, but these are the little things. Lissa and I aren't real hardcore like that. And we've had people like, come down our throats about that too. Like, we try to do the best we can. We wash what we can when we can. But if we're in an area, like the other day, we're like, oh, let's make because we make a lot of salads on the tailgate. We're not washing everything, but I'm not scared. So I don't know, like that's a controversial one. Everybody's going to have their own thing. And of course, I like to have everything clean and fresh. I would love to pick it out of my buddy's garden if I could.
Yeah.
But if you can't, it's not organic. It's still better than. We're still seeing these things, these vegetables and fruits that are unorganic, they respond and affect us in ways that are beneficial, better than eating the Little Caesars pizza or, some whatever. Like, yeah, so I don't know. Lisa and I, we don't trip out on having all organic, 100% organic, and it's expensive, man. Like, I mean, I don't, I don't know. Like, it's hard, you know. It's
Yeah.
really tricky to have everything organic, and if you were to be in that mindset, then you're really cutting yourself down on what you can have.
Yep.
And I don't know. Personally, I feel for me, it's just better to eat fresh fruits and vegetables, unorganic, organic, whatever. If there's sometimes there's deals on organic that's like, oh my gosh, we're buying, like, let's spend $50 on blueberries because they're $1 a pound, organic blueberries, you know, like.
Yeah.
But if there's not organic blueberries and we want some blueberries, then whatever, we're going to buy them, you know, unorganic blueberries.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't think anybody should, you know, if they can't get all organic. Now I'm fortunate, and I don't know if you guys have a natural grocers in Vegas, but
Natty G's. Yeah, Natty
yeah,
G's, man.
that's my store. That's my store. That's where we get the majority of our produce. And thankfully, they're an all organic produce grocery store. So they only carry organic fresh
Yeah.
produce. So we're fortunate in that sense. But if there's somebody, but you know, we go to Costco too, which thankfully also has a ton of organic.
Yeah, they've got a great organic selection. Yeah.
Yep. But that's not to say that I never eat inorganic or non-organic food, you know, like the watermelons. I pretty much only get non-organic watermelon because, you know, the organic ones, I find that the non-organic ones I can get seeded for one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't find very many unless I go at certain points of the year. There's some Amish organic seeded watermelons that I can find, and they're amazing. But that's only certain times of the year.
Yeah, once a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So usually I just get non-organic seeded watermelons if I can get them. This year has been actually really maybe the best year in the last like 5 years that I've had for watermelon.
Nice.
They've been incredible. But yeah, like for anybody that is wondering if eating non-organic produce is not going to be beneficial, you know, they're missing the point, right? So you want to get in those hydrating, fiber rich, you know, antioxidant rich vitamins and minerals any way you can. And yes, it is, like Nate said, it's unfortunate that we live in a world where, you know, you have to worry about what they're spraying on the food, and whether it's organic or not organic. Both systems are compromised, right? And they're not ideal for promoting the highest level of health. They're really set up to promote, you know, profits. And, you know, really it's that you could go off on a couple different paths with why it is how it is, but you know, it seems to mostly be profit driven rather than health driven.
Okay.
But we just have to do the best we can, and that's what it comes down to. You have to do the best you can and get as many fruits and vegetables into your body as you can, whether it's organic or not. And again, it's not about being perfect. It's not about only being organic. You know, it's about doing the best you can, and that's all you can really do, right?
Man. It's tricky too because Lissa's mom, she was like all organic. And of course, it was like organic meats she was eating too, right? The grass-fed stuff. There's a lot of the greenwashing, right? Like, especially in these stores, Natty G's, Whole Foods, Sprouts. You're like, oh, this is all like, you know, super good because the packaging's on recycled paper. It feels good, right? But even then, she developed a cancer. And she had a tumor like the size of a grapefruit. And she was hardcore everything organic, like the healthiest that she could possibly be that she thought, right? So it's tricky. It's like, it's just, it's really tricky. And I know there's some people who are really sensitive to certain, you know, things, certain additives in food, or maybe certain pesticides maybe really affect them. And, you know, if that's the situation, of course, you know, they're on their own journey trying to figure out what to stay away from. But for the majority of the people, especially what I see out here in Las Vegas, I think a conventional, you know, sprayed, you know, cucumber or whatever is going to be better than what I'm seeing people eat on the, you know, or what's out there available for people. It's going to be better. It's going to be better than, but yeah, I know that's a real tricky topic. And of course, I mean, I think all of us would love to just have the most amazing, rich, nutrient rich soil, you know, all these plants are like having like beautiful music played to them. The water is being blessed that they're watered with, right? Right. I mean, of course, we all want that, but unfortunately, with the way that we're set up, like it's tricky. Even in communities, like we grew gardens, and it's like, man, if you have the worms coming in that are going to start eating your stuff, like, you know, we're spraying some bacillus on there to, you know, try to combat the worms eating our whole crop.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. It'd be tricky to be in that position of growing massive crops, you know, agriculturally. But I know definitely we have to be aware of the certain things. But yeah, I mean, I feel if the fear is the part that really can mess with us too, is being scared of something that isn't organic.
For sure.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned, you know, a good way, if you're fortunate enough to have good local farmers markets, you know, that's a great way to opt out of the mass, you know, the mass industrialized system. You can just start supporting your local farmers if that's a viable option for you. So that's one way for some people that they could really, you know, even if that farmer isn't growing organically, you know, find out their practices. And if it's something that you're comfortable with, you know, support them. And
and it's cool because everybody can bring a little different something to the table, right? Like not everybody can grow all their own food. Like we're 21 floors up in a high-rise building. I don't have a yard or a garden. You know, my garden is right here on these racks growing microgreens, but I could trade somebody some microgreens for, you know, some beets or some carrots or some leafy greens. So we can all kind of like add to, but I know it's tricky, you know, I mean, for someone to grow all their own stuff, for the idea, the concept, I love the concept of being completely off grid and self-sustainable, but I just don't think that that's really practical because we need the village, right? Like we need the tribe to to thrive and stay alive because everybody adds a little something different. You know, like I don't grow strawberries. Matt's the strawberry grower. I grow the grapes, right? And so then we can trade. And these kinds of things are amazing. Like more and more people, we can grow stuff. You know, everybody can grow stuff, but I don't think we could grow everything that we need. It's just, I mean, gosh, imagine you'd have to have definitely a crew. I mean, we had big crops, man. Crops, when you're growing lots of food, it's hard work and it's full-time gig and you need help. Like so yeah, it can be kind of tricky. I saw a comment pass by. Somebody said something about the lotions and the different perfumes and things. For sure, that's another aspect, and that's where women are hit really hard. Is all the different beauty products that they're putting on. You know, if we don't know, you have to research. Like, are these vegan for one? These products, you know, what's in them. You know, I mean, we use products. You know, I use a face wash. I don't have access to delicious papayas. I love Jeanette's book, right? Like the different beauty products that you can use that are from fruits, but it's interesting. That's a whole nother topic in itself too. And yeah, same thing. Like, you know, we can only do the best we can. We're not going to live forever. We're already living twice as long as what we used to way back, supposedly. But of course, now we are seeing that people are, you know, our youth are going to be living less, you know, than because of the food choices that are out there for so cheap, right? Like and food's expensive. Healthy food is expensive, but I love that saying, pay the farmer now or pay big pharma later. Like it's one or the other, you know, like we're going to be, but yeah, you can only do the best you can do. And, you know, all organic or not, you can still get, you know, different diseases in the body. So, no one gets out alive, man. No one's getting out alive. We're all going to die.
That is true. And I will say one last thing about the organic and non-organic thing. You know, one of the best things we can do, and I know Nate is, you know, very educated on this, and that is enhancing your gut microbiome. Because the healthier your gut microbiome is, those bacteria, some of those bacteria can actually, you know, metabolize and deactivate some of those pesticides. So by having a healthy, you know, layer of mucosa and a good bacterial composition, you can potentially lessen the amount of toxic chemicals that get actually absorbed into the body. And also, like Nate said, usually we can't all, supply all of our food for ourselves. We have to rely on other people in the community to, trade with us and things. And our bacteria in the gut do the exact same thing, right? So the secondary metabolite, that some bacteria, so one bacteria will eat what you eat, and then they'll excrete a metabolite. And then another bacteria lives off that
metabolite. It's
right.
beautiful.
And so on and so on.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you brought that up, man. I'm so glad that you said that too. That is so true. Yeah. The healthier our guts are, man. Yeah. The healthier that we are, 100%. Yeah. Sure. And it's amazing how that it works. Like you're saying, like there's the one that eats the fiber, its metabolite, it's got its excretion. There's another one that comes along, eats that excretion. So, yeah, not to say that, of course, like, when we start digging into what in the world is going on out there, there's definitely, it's hard to not envision that there is kind of an agenda to keep us, kind of oppressed and unhealthy. But yeah, man, definitely healthy microbiome. That's going to be, that's what our biggest gig is too, is just like, same with you, bro. Take your salad, take one of our salads. The majority of the population would be daunted by how could you eat all that? They would get, I know people who would get sick eating that much fiber. Right. So it's interesting, like building our guts, having iron guts, fermented foods. We're really big into fermented foods as well. We do our own fermenting. These kinds of things help that colony. It's interesting, especially the studies that are coming out now. It's not a fringe thing. It's 100% like, it's just amazing what happens when you have a healthy gut microbiome.
Yeah, and if people want to learn how to grow their own microgreens and make their own ferments, you have a course on that, correct?
Yeah, I've got a course. It's also in my, I have a book called Dude Food, which is, basically building a healthy gut microbiome, which also has how to make sauerkraut and kimchi in it. But yeah, my course, Sprouts, Krauts, and Microgreens, is, it's a video course teaching you how to sprout different seeds and legumes and how to ferment different vegetables, and really just, it's so simple. But how to add more of that kind of stuff into your day-to-day life. It's not like you're eating grips of fermented foods, but little bit each day. It's your healthy probiotics. And it's nice because you're putting in your own bacteria making the stuff, right? So that's a real powerful thing. And then, the microgreens. Microgreens, man, are incredible. And they're really fun to grow, fun for kids too, because, kids' attention spans are a little short, right? Kind of like a lot of us adults too, but you see how fast these things grow. It's exciting to watch, within, 7 days to 10 days, these things are ready to harvest, and they're amazing nutrients. Yep. Incredible. Yeah. So the course, Sprouts, Krauts, and Microgreens, we're running 40% off on all of our books and the courses. So wow. You can get that, come over to my page, links in the bio, the code's there, raw food 40, and of course, we just, our whole gig, like yourself, man, we're on a mission. We're trying to help you guys to incorporate more of these foods into your day-to-day.
100%.
Build that microbiome.
For sure. Yeah. I could not recommend Nate's course and his books and Lissa's as well, more, because it's exactly what people need, like myself, trying to show people how to make this a healthy and sustainable. Sustainable is a key word there, long term. So yes. I think that's missed in a lot of the messages that we hear. So making it sustainable is so key.
Definitely.
All right, next question here. Now we probably only got time for maybe one or two more. We're already almost at 1:00 Central. Yeah. So yeah, this has been great. Again, thanks Nate for giving us your time and
my pleasure, bro.
Sharing your wisdom on a lot of these topics.
My pleasure, man. Yeah, I was looking forward to hanging out and answering questions. It's always fun, right? Like we want to help each other. So yeah, I'm there.
For sure. All right, let's see. How about All right. How much time do you guys spend on a weekly basis on grocery shopping and food prep?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be any different than the average, eater who eats anything and everything, the omnivore. I think actually our time in the grocery store I'd be willing to bet $100 on this. It's way faster because we know what we're going in for. We don't have to like peruse the aisles and, buying the different, kind of like prepped, survival style foods, boxed and canned foods. We go to the produce section and the bulk section, maybe like the spice section, and we're out. So shopping is really quick. We do go to the store though, probably at least twice a week. We could do a major haul and of course like sustain like, a week or more, but there's certain things that maybe we're moving through a little quicker. So, and we've got stores everywhere. That's what's nice about Vegas. That's really one of the main reasons we moved here was all the different markets that we have access to. So yeah, I don't think it's much longer. Shopping is fast. Prep is definitely, it can be as intricate and as intense as you want it to be. If we're making like something fancy, like maybe one of Chris Kendall's pizzas, or if we're doing some, like our ginger belief, we've got to condense a sauce in our dehydrator that has to dehydrate overnight. The actual hands-on prep time though, I would say is really comparable for some of our more like fresh gourmet meals as it would be a regular, say you're making spaghetti from scratch and you're making your own noodles even. Like it would definitely be faster. In a lot of ways, it's a lot faster than having to, have all the burners going on the stove and, stuff's in the oven and these kinds of things. Like there's a lot to kind of, keep going. But yeah, it can be as intense as you want. Our salads typically, it's kind of interesting because when my boys were here, they were making mac and cheese, and that it was a Daya mac and cheese. Nice, got the kitty, and it's just like a cheese packet that you squeeze in, so they didn't have to add any like milk or butter, say. And of course, if they would, it would be vegan because they're vegan, which I'm blessed that they are. It's just so nice that they have made that connection as well. That's amazing. It was actually just as fast, if not faster, for us to make our salads and a dressing than it was for them to boil the noodles and put the cheese sauce on.
Right.
Just as fast, if not faster. So, and that was really like an eye opener too. It was like cool to have them here to see what, what they're cooking up or whatever. And I was like, wow, this is like, it's not a lot of time. Yeah. What's tricky is figuring out, creating a new habit and figuring out the process of it, because in the beginning you may be like, okay, I've got to make sure I've got all my stuff, but after you do it a while, say you understand the concepts of the 5-star dressing, these certain things that you need for, look at beautiful boy or girl?
Boy.
What's his name?
Slick.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But once in the beginning, it could take a little longer because you're like, oh, shoot, okay, I need to get some garlic. I don't have garlic. Garlic is something that we always stock in our house. Onions as well. We love garlic and onions. So if you have these things on hand, making something is so fast. You throw in some dates, you throw in some lemon juice, you throw in a clove of garlic, some seasonings, a little water, boom, you got this amazing dressing, fast. So when I became raw, working in the medical industry, I would make my salad at work. I'd bring my Vitamix in my duffel bag with me to work. And the people that would go to the food trucks, I was already eating my fresh salad when they got back with their paper sack from the food truck. Yeah. So it was faster for me to make this delicious salad with maybe 8 different vegetables in the salad, fruits and vegetables, and a fresh dressing than it was for them to go stand in line and buy this meal that they got at the food truck. So yeah, I'd say it's just as fast, if not faster in a lot of ways. But like I said, of course, if you're going gourmet, might take a little longer. for some things, you know.
Yeah, completely agree. I like to you know, use an example that I heard from Tony Robbins many years ago. You know, so he took like a group of people, he would have them write their name with their dominant hand that they usually write with.
Great analogy.
Yeah, and they would time it. So they would time how long it took them to write their name with their dominant hand. Then he would take those people and they would have to write their name with their non-dominant hand, but they would write every other letter. So they were writing half of the amount of letters, but it took them, you know, because it was their non-dominant hand, it took them like 3, 4, or 5 times longer than writing all of the letters of their name. So they would practice with their non-dominant hand, and the more they practiced with the non-dominant hand, the time that it took them to write that out shorter and shorter, and soon it was shorter than it takes to write their whole name, right?
So beautiful.
So, yeah, so it takes time. So even if you get into this lifestyle and you're thinking that it's taking you a long time to make things and figure out how to make it work, that will reduce over time. And like Nate said, once you get to a point where you're comfortable and this has just become a normal part of your lifestyle, you will find that it takes much shorter of a time to prepare your food, to wash up after you eat, you know, your dishes. We just rinse it off with water.
Yeah,
that's it. It takes like less than 5 minutes.
Like no soap because there's no oil.
Exactly. So
now eating, that could be a little different. You know, a big salad does take a bit longer than eating a sandwich.
Sure. Yep. So it's all going to kind of balance itself out. So yeah, it will take, if you're eating a big salad, it'll probably take you, you know, I think it takes like 30 to 45 minutes, but you know, that's time that I value, you know, that I value putting into nourishing my body. Yeah. So, you know, like Nate said, if you're making like spaghetti or mac and cheese or ordering food, or, you know, you got to wait for something to boil on the stove, all these things take a lot of time, right? And just chopping up and throwing some raw fruits and vegetables into a bowl, you know, it really doesn't take that much time. You just really...
Yeah, like we do this marinade. We'll make a marinade, throw a bunch of vegetables in, you know, some broccoli, some mushrooms, some onions, some bell peppers, green onions, and we'll throw that in the dehydrator. The marinade maybe takes like at most 5 minutes. A lot of the stuff is frozen. We'll chop up and freeze, you know, these vegetables, because what happens when you freeze something is the water expands. So the water in the cell expands. When it thaws out, it's kind of limpy. So it gives it this kind of texture like it's been steamed or sauteed, so to speak, because we put in the marinade. 5 minutes at most there, toss it in the dehydrator, let it sit for like an hour, hour and a half while we're doing something. Even 20 minutes, it's still gonna be good, but like around an hour, hour and a half at like 110. And then we spiralize some cucumbers, or we'll chop up some lettuce. We have this delicious meal that looks like it would have taken at least 30 minutes to make, and we've made it in less than 10. So yeah, but of course, eating it, you know, we're chewing the food because the digestion starts in our mouth, right? You want to chew your food properly, and a lot of times we're so in so much of a hurry, we're not even really present with our food, chewing it properly. We're just wolfing it down, you know. But yeah, man, I know it's so fast. Like breakfast, you know, chop open a melon, there it is, done. Yeah. You know, like you're not having to like toast bread and whatever, you know.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah,
man. All right. Well, I think so. We are past. You know, we went 2 hours here, and I am so grateful, Nate, that you took all that time to spend with us. And everybody out there that we didn't get to your questions, I'm going to do my best to. I didn't write them down today, but what I'm going to ask you guys to do, if we didn't get to your question, please DM me the question, and we'll get to it in a future show, or you know, and feel free. Do you mind if people DM you with questions as well? You know, with any questions that they had for you.
Yeah, man, definitely. Yeah, anybody who's tuning in, you know, you could cruise over to my page as well. Yeah, DM me. we're all about trying to help people, answer those questions, definitely. So yeah, this has been great, bro. I was looking forward to hanging out. It's been a minute since we've connected,
Yeah.
And thank you to all the people who tuned in and engaged with us here with all the questions. It's always nice when there's a lot of engagement, a lot of questions coming in, and anything that we can do to try to share our wisdom. Of course, like I said, none of us have all the answers. We're all students. We're all learning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's some questions that's like, that's a really good question. Let's do some research. I don't really know the best way to answer those kinds of questions. But luckily we were able to answer, a few questions today for sure. Yeah. And look at us, man. I mean, of course, I I talk a lot. I know I could probably answer these a little quicker, or tell a story a little quicker.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. So awesome, bro. Well, thank you so much for having me on, my man. Enjoy the rest of the day back there, and tell your sweetie we say hello.
Will do, my friends. Say hello to Alyssa, and yeah, definitely look forward to meeting up again here, and hopefully one of these days we'll make it down to Vegas, or if you find your way to Woodstock next year, stop by.
Man. Yes, definitely. If you're ever in Vegas now, is Lissa's coming on with you this next Sunday, isn't she?
I think Lissa is in 2 Sundays from now.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah, next Sunday will be Olivia Herzog.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're going to talk about how the raw food diet affects us emotionally.
Very good.
And dealing with some of the emotional aspects. And then Lissa, in 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a show about how to make the raw vegan lifestyle fun and exciting. So,
beautiful.
She's an
good topics, man. These are great shows. It's so awesome you've got these going on, a consistent Sunday show. So good. So good, brother. Well, thanks so much, my man. And we'll see you on the gram.
All right. Sounds good, man. Have a great day. Thanks again.
You too, bro. Peace. Love you guys.
Love you too. All right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next Sunday. Again, Olivia Herzog is going to be our special guest, as Jeanette is going to be at Woodstock for the next 3 to 4 weeks. All right. So we've got amazing guests just like Nate that are going to be joining us and filling in for Jeanette, and, making sure that, I don't bore you guys too much, just being by myself. So we had to get some other people in here and really give you guys some valuable content from people that we respect and that we think are really sharing the message in a positive, healthy way. And so I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode with Nate, and we will see you next week, same time, with Olivia Herzog, talking about how to deal with the emotional aspects of, life on a raw vegan diet. So again, thank you, everybody. Jonas, thank you. I really appreciate your comments. Again, I'm not as good as Jeanette is, responding to comments during the show. I don't want to, when 2 people are talking at the same time, it mutes us out. So I didn't want to do that. But Jonas and everybody else that has been commenting and just, supporting the show, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And again, we will see you next week, 12 o'clock Eastern time. And thank you again for watching. All right. See ya.